game. Let's take a look at the NFC Championship game. We've got Packers-Bucks. We've got the two sage quarterbacks, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, going head-to-head. They're in Lambeau. As someone who lives in Madison, just a couple hours south of Green Bay, I can tell you it has been brutally cold here in Wisconsin, and we just got an inch of snow dumped on us in the general area. It's going to be conditions in Green Bay. It's going to be unforgiving, and guess what? That Packer team looking like they've kind of fixed all of the problems that we were worried about earlier in the season. They look pretty perfect.
Yeah, I mean, of any of the teams playing in the playoffs right now, they're certainly playing the best out of any of them. And it comes down to, again, just how amazing Aaron Rodgers has been this year. And like, you're talking about a guy that is late into his career, and he's playing arguably the best football he ever has. That offense is just so fine-tuned. They have a receiver that is just an impossible matchup unless you commit multiple defensive backs to try to stop him in Devontae Adams. Oh, and they have a running game too. Now, one of the big questions going into the Rams game was how they were going to look without David Bakhtiari, and they looked fine. Rodgers was barely touched throughout the entirety of the game.
Incredibly impressed with the backup performance.
Yeah, and so you look at like a team that just does not have really a lot of weaknesses at all, but here comes Tom Brady, playoff tested as ever, and they went into the game against the Saints as underdogs, and for a while it looked like they weren't going to be able to keep up, and all of a sudden the script flipped, and they end up winning because they've got a legit defense, and Vita Vea is going to be back for this game. That's a huge factor. So, I don't know. My head says go with Green Bay, but honestly, I think the Buccaneers have a legitimate chance in this game.
So the Green Bay Packers are minus 3.5 point favorites. They're minus 200 on the money line. The over-under is 52. The problem here is that you just don't know how the Bucs are going to look. They've had some really weird games. Even in the playoffs, everybody was saying what a great game that was against the Saints. And you know what? They did play pretty well against the Saints, but they also scored – what was it, 4 times off of turnovers? I think they scored off of every one of the turnovers. But you're thinking their special teams look terrible, and they were giving up those long returns. Their defense early on was not holding up, mostly because the special teams was flipping the field, but they weren't able to stiffen at most points. And the offense was looking in a funk. They couldn't get anything deep going. They basically just had to rush for any kind of yardage. And they kind of it was almost just like waiting out Drew Brees and his wet noodle of an arm to give them that game. I don't know. I can tell you this. Aaron Rodgers is not going to give them this game. I promise you Aaron Rodgers is not going to give them this game. So can you go and straight up win it? I don't know. As good as Tom Brady is in the postseason, as legendary as he is, and there is something to be said about, you know what, I'm just not going to turn over, and once they give me the opportunity, I'm going to step on their throat. There's something to be said about that and the patience in that, to play the long game throughout an entire playoff game and not panic. That said, if you're hoping that a turnover is what starts to break this game your way, I think you're going to find yourself down 21-0 in a hurry. And I don't know. The other thing is that we saw a team in the Rams who had the best shot of shutting down the number one option for the Packers, and we wanted to see what does it look like when they're depending on Valdez,
Scantling.
Scantling, and what does it look like for Alan Lazard, the Lizard? What does it look like for those two teams to try and carry the receiving options? And then Devontae Adams went out and had 9 catches against arguably the best corner in the NFL. And you thought maybe it'll be a good game for the Rams because they're going to be able to pound the ball with this really good rookie Cam Akers. And they never really let him dictate the game for the Rams offense. And even though Jared Goff had a good game, they never really let them run it down their throat. Let the Rams run it down their throat. And so I don't think that, like 2 months ago, we probably would have said, well, Leonard Fournette is going to be able to come out and pound this game. He's coming in fresh to the playoffs. He's going to be able to pound this defense through 4 quarters. I don't know if that's an option anymore. And guess what? One of the prop bets I love for this game, I'm going to give you guys a few prop bets. One of the prop bets I love, 7 receptions for the over-under is 7 receptions for Devontae Adams, minus 130 for the over. I love that because they're going to figure out ways to get him the ball. You see like stuff in the red zone where it's just that arrow route, that direct from the line of scrimmage to the sideline route. He's going to catch 1 or 2 of those. He's so good off the line of scrimmage, getting out of his break and getting into a route. Those double move routes, he loves them. He finds that cushion between the safety and the corner, and he's catching 3 of those. I mean, he is just money in so many different areas of the field. I can't help but think Packers here. And I don't know. I feel like this game is kind of back and forth. And so I think that a late touchdown maybe breaks this one open for the Packers. I'm leaning towards the minus 3.5 here.
You remember what happened in the regular season when these two teams squared off, and it was just that uncharacteristically off performance for Aaron Rodgers because Ndamukong Suh had a couple plays where he got to Rodgers, and it seemed like it really got in his head, and it looked like Green Bay was going to run away in that game because I think through the first 3 possessions, they had like 99% of the possession time.
And they were up 10-0 in that game. People forget that.
And then all of a sudden that pick 6 and things just completely flipped. And so, I wonder, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to let that happen a second time, but I remember looking back in that game and thinking, wow, he was just like, dare I say, like rattled for the first time in a long time. And so this Buccaneers defense, they can do that because they have some players that really like to try to get under your skin, but I don't see that being something that Aaron Rodgers is going to let happen a second time. I think this game comes down to both offenses, and we could see, 45-41 would be great. I want points.
The other thing is Tom Brady makes up for a lot of inexperience because he is so good in the postseason. He just won. He just started in his 43rd playoff game, which is more than the average career for a football player is like, what, 2 seasons? 2.5 seasons. It's incredibly short. And so, like, he's played in more playoff games than the average career length for a player, if you're going just across the entire league. That said, the playoff experience for almost his entire roster outside of coaching is last week.
Right.
Or the last 2 weeks, I should say. That's the entire playoff experience for most of his team is these last 2 weeks. And if they're on the road, it's really, really cold. And it's nasty. It stinks to play in. Every hit hurts a little more because it's freezing. And you're down 17-0. And the other team just isn't giving up the ball. And they're not letting off the pedal. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to pull them out of that. And now, granted, they could go shot for shot with them. And at the half, you're looking at like a 21-20 type game, 21-21 type game. That's totally plausible. But I'm just saying, in crisis, do you trust this team, even with Tom Brady on it, to find something to pull them out of this against Aaron Rodgers and this squad that looks like they have fixed their problems?
I'll put it to you in this way. All of the games today, I feel like Kansas City and Green Bay have the best chance to pull away. I feel like if Buffalo and Tampa Bay win, it's going to be in close fashion. But I think if things go bad for the Bills and for the Buccaneers, that I think we'll see those games be more lopsided in favor of the Chiefs and the Packers.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, here are the bets. Just over 10 units. I'm buying some points, so I'm getting it down to just 3 points, minus 145. The rollover money is going on the Packers, minus 3, just over 10 units. Here's my prop bets. I love over 7 for receptions. That's Davante Adams. Again, I think he's going to catch probably 9 to 10 balls again this week. I mean, just why not? Why not?
Yeah, go nuts.
The number's at 7.5, minus 30, 130 to go over. I'm taking that. The other one, and you're going to absolutely love this. You're going to love this one. The other one, oh, by the way, total receiving yards, 90.5 for Davante Adams. Might want to look at that one as well. But I'm going with receptions. You're going to love this one. For plus 1,000, the order of first touchdowns. First touchdown goes to Robert Tonyan. Second touchdown goes to Chris Godwin. Both have to happen to win the bet. But if the first touchdown is Robert Tonyan and the second touchdown is Chris Godwin, it's plus 1,000.
Okay, yeah, that's my favorite bet of the weekend. Oh, that is so good. And like, there's a legitimately good chance that it happens that way.
Not terrible. It's not terrible. But it's a fun one.
God, that is a good bet. Oh my God.
All right. So that's what we've got. Those are the NFC Championship bets. Best of luck, everyone.